Of the Street 919 FM.
Tune into the Street 919 FM this and every Thursday from 10:25 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. for the program Conscious Talk.
Emancipation cannot be a one-day dress-up in African card event. It has to be a serious process in which resources are provided to our people to ensure they are emancipated. You cannot develop on handouts. That's another form of domination and control. When programs and policies are put in place so that you can develop economically, so that you can become business people, then and only then we can begin to talk about economic development.
Conscious Talk, Conscious Talk, talk.
No, go ahead, continue what I tell you.
As we commemorate the emancipation from African enslavement in 1838. Historians on both sides of the Atlantic have written volumes on the torturous experiences of our ancestors, who in some parts of the Americas were equated with animals in the fields, to be flogged, bought and sold, and the idea of family was erased with extreme brutality. Enslavement over some 400 years meant not only dawn to dusk work in the fields, but a destruction of all of the enslaved's cultural support. His or her personhood, their family systems, religion, music, art, culture, language. This being our lot, the concepts of ownership, asset, and wealth were clearly not meant for us, according to them. Substantial in law, but substantial in how we see ourselves. You see them 3 Columbus boats in the emblem? They will go. And since we have enough votes in the parliament to do it, I could announce now that as soon as the legislative adjustment is made, and that amendment, that adjustment should be made before the 24th of September, we then, over a 6-month period, will replace Columbus' 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, with the steel pan. And for logistical purposes, that will take place over a 6-month period, allowing us to consume the stationery and other things that we have in place and be replaced by our new intention. And that should signal that we are on our way to removing the colonial vestiges that we have in our Constitution. And I hope that we start with that and we end up getting up and no longer being squatters on the steps of the Privy Council.
Celebration of a victory in a battle does not mean that you have won the war. The war is yet to be won. It's an ongoing process.
A pleasant morning, Trinidad and Tobago, the world at large. Once again, it's a duty, yes, it's a duty to be on Conscious Talk once again this morning. And normally I would say, very facetious, by saying this, Trinidad, Tobago, and Venezuela are triple island republic. Yes, if we do not control what is taking place in our country. Yes. This morning, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say good morning to the nuts vendors, the snow cone vendors, the carpenters, the masons, the electricians, the housemaids, those who are home with the children trying to put things in place while the dads are out, and some mothers are fathers and mothers while they do their daily chores. School is opening very soon. I hope everything is in place for the young ones, and I hope, by the grace of Almighty God, that the parents would keep an extra eye on their children, especially when social media is destroying, I want to repeat, when social media is destroying this entire world. I always say the phone, the cell phone, is more dangerous than a gun, or just as dangerous as a gun. Do the analysis. You will understand what I'm speaking about. This morning, I have a very tight program. So I wish to start the program, so at least I will try my utmost to allow callers to call in if they so choose. Normally I would speak because, as I said, I only come once a week here for 25 minutes. And I don't have the pleasure and the leisure for 3 hours on a daily basis, yes. So this morning, I'll go straight into the subject matter. The director will put up this first for me for this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing on our screens, the Cabinet appointed committee to reveal the placement of statues, monuments, and signage in Trinidad and Tobago. Public consultation, the review of the placement of statues, monuments, and signage in Trinidad and Tobago. And before I move on, I wish to say this. We are a reactive society. Hear my words. And I say this respectfully as not to create no bacchanal, lacquery, and tankatang, which Trinidadians is accustomed to. And as I say, I don't beyond that because I recall that in primary school or elementary school with little girls. We speak public consultation, and we know this would come from the Honorable Prime Minister. But some of us like to reverberate the sound of the Prime Minister and don't like to walk the talk. So this morning I'll go straight into the subject matter in terms of this sign, public consultation. Go ahead, Director.
Fellow Trinidad, Trinbagonians, good afternoon. I am Councillor Claire Matisse. I'm representing the Port of Spain City Council. So I've been given this task this afternoon by the Mayor and my fellow council members to basically first offer our support to the Cabinet appointed committee as it relates to the matter at caption. For some time, we've been faced with various petitions and suggestions that would have been submitted to the council over the years from various stakeholders. So in our current incarnation, the council has sought to tackle these issues by the way of an advisory committee, chaired by myself, Councillor Batiste, and comprising of prospective stakeholders such as the National Trust, representation from the First Peoples, Emancipation Support Committee, just to name a few. This committee, being a brainchild of our current mayor, was approved to discuss a few matters that required urgent attention as per the growing public discourse. Surrounding one, the Columbus statue, or Columbus Square. We've had suggestions to rename the square National Heroes Square. There was even a suggestion to rename it Colonization Square. And place within that space various...
This is a little snippet as regards the subject matter at hand. First of all, I wish to draw your attention as we look at these photos. The photos I'm about to show is all the speakers who was there. But I wish for you all to look at the empty chairs, yes, as we show the photos of those who was there. So, Director, you could put photo by photo This is one person, this was one speaker, go ahead director, another speaker. This was another speaker, go ahead director. I wish for you all to see the empty chairs. All these people spoke on the subject matter where the Prime Minister spoke about. As I say, we like to talk, and don't like to walk the talk. Yes, ladies, this is another speaker here, as you would see. This also is another speaker. So the other person, something stood out, which I would like for this other person, the other speaker. Director, you could go ahead with the other clip. Oh, not this one. No, this is another speaker. Everybody spoke, and as I said, we could see the chairs. So some of us like to play, we supporting the Prime Minister, yes. We supporting the Prime Minister, we don't want to walk the talk. We want to stay in our homes, call on the phone. We don't want to be part of the process. As Africans, we like to talk. Conscious talk, future of talk, constructive talk, all kind of talk. But we don't like to walk the talk. Go ahead, director. Bring the next clip.
Not know the majority of our history, and it's not our fault. We are not taught it in schools. The museums are really a challenge, so that our historical consciousness is weak. But we constantly make what we think are historical statements, which are often incorrect. I think that the whole question between heritage and education, and heritage and the economy, I really want, because I think our tourism people never think of heritage. I hardly ever see anything related to heritage. And in terms of Trinidad and Tobago, Rubidiri said, has had a number of very important citizens. People come here to look for them and they don't find them. There were some Japanese panists who went to the cemetery to look for Bradley's grave. It was covered in bush. They cleaned it up and they were horrified because they couldn't understand how we could allow this grave of such an important national musician to be ignored. Similarly, Ngugi Wa Thiong'o came here and wanted to visit C.L.R. James' grave. That particular occasion, someone had to cut the bush to get, and he gave us a lecture. It was at the last Carrie Festa. Therefore, I think that in terms of monuments, we don't always need a statue. There are other ways of memorializing and recognizing. So I want to suggest that monuments could be usable spaces. For example, the breakfast shed, what's left of it, which was the idea of Audrey Jeffers, a social worker, the first female member of the Trinidad and Tobago City Council, Legislative Council, the first woman elected to the Port of Spain City Council. We managed to snatch what was left of the breakfast shed when the Hyatt was going up now. It's a shadow of itself, it's a mess. How can that breakfast shed be made into a monument to the work of Audrey Jeffers? The Penny Bank was recently handed over to the Carnival Museum. That's great. But what about the Penny Bank itself? That was a historical, it was the first locally owned bank. It was a cooperative bank of ordinary people who took their pennies there. I said, if even part goes to the Carnival Museum, where is the heritage of that penny bank? You know, we speak about finance, etc., but where is that history? And so I think that making living monuments are usable spaces, places where students, visitors, people can actually feel the presence of the person. I think that's very, very important.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I was totally astonished. I was dumbfounded. I was stumped when I heard this particular caller or this particular speaker spoke about the breakfast shed and the significance of the breakfast shed, and knowing for how much years I've been speaking about the breakfast, people used to watch me and scoff. And what the hell he talking about? The Panchen Bago headquarters. What the hell he talking about? The proclamation of the steel pan. What the hell he talking about? All those things. The Mandela Park sign close to the King George V Park sign. What the hell he talking about? You know, come, yes. But now we could see this madman, yes. I just can't help it but be myself. Now we would see what I was speaking about all those years. And you know something, as I said, little things which would grow into big things, and Steve Altwine wouldn't not supposed to speak about it because of the direction it is now going. So based on this consultation, and we saw all the photos of those who spoke, listen to this speaker. Listen to this speaker.
You know,
sorry,
the older you get, I'll give my name this one. Right. The older you get, you do learn things. You do learn things. My name is Frank Ferreira from Belmont. And my family...
Frank Ferreira
from Ferreira, F-E-R-R-E-I-R-E, Belmont. And my family, Portuguese, Madeira. And we owned, over the years, rum shops in Cuba. So when I hear somebody talk about Stokely Carmichael, and our father of the nation here, Dr. Eric Williams, banned Stokely Carmichael from the country. Banned him totally. Did not want that individual who was around in 1969, 1970, up in the States, and created real problems. So you making this man, Stokely Carmichael, a hero? Really? Really? I said, no, you can't make that man a hero, because he was banned by the father of the nation. So Eric Williams, most likely, Dr. Eric Williams was turning in his grave to see what you all could do to destroy Trinidad and Tobago. You come into the earliest inhabitants of Trinidad and Tobago, and I go through my history books, and I have a lot of books on Trinidad and Tobago, where they talk about the Arawaks and the Caribs and the Cibonese. Oh, I see you all dressed in all sorts of outfits and whatnot. The chief is there. Enlighten me and tell me if the Arawaks were peaceful people, if the Caribs were warlike, and if the Caribs used to kill the Arawaks and take away their women and so on. They committed murder. You are a murderous gang of people. And nobody would dispute that. Nobody would dispute that. But you. You're the chief. So that is common knowledge that the Caribs used to murder the Arawaks. And I learned that from school. And you promoting yourself as the chief and so on. And that is where I have the problem with you all. Let me explain myself again. So you talk about Columbus with genocide and this and that and the other. Columbus was an ordinary individual who loved books, who discovered a like for seafaring activities, who frequented the sea, who made voyages and so on. He was an enterprising individual. He was born in Italy, Genoa, 1450, 1451. And he rediscovered Trinidad and Tobago on his third voyage. And you are saying here that a man spread all sorts of diseases outside here and corrupted all sorts of individuals, but basically the team around him in his voyages were prisoners, condemned men. So the whole environment at that time is not even applicable to today. You're looking at two different situations, and Columbus was a real individual. a real individual. And I take, you know what I mean, I take a total dislike of certain people saying that he spread genocide. You know what I mean? I just don't understand it. And I am asking here, I want the committee to take note and to sort of recognize that Columbus rediscovered Trinidad and Tobago, notwithstanding the early inhabitants that were here. But they had no sort of land settlement in that time. There was a crisscross, you know what I mean, the Caribbean and so on. But nobody placed a permanent land settlement than the Spanish. When the Spanish came here, they founded San Jose, St. Joseph. And they created the establishment and whatnot. So I'm not disputing the inhabitants, but I am disputing how they went about it. And Columbus himself, and gotta take note, he went on 4 voyages and so on. He discovered Trinidad, he rediscovered Trinidad in 1498. We have to recognize that. Somebody in all the other countries, somebody discovered states, somebody discovered other countries and so on. Vasco da Gama, you know what I mean? They all discovered. And they never had a problem in removing, you know what I mean, statues and names and all of that.
And while you're doing that, Mr. Ferrero, we thank you for your contribution.
No, I just want to make one more statement.
We have
one more statement.
Thank you so much.
I am glad for the opportunity that you're all sitting there, right? But things have a tendency to change overnight. And possibly next year, right? Things going to change. And whatever policies and so on that you have here, and whatever programs, could easily be replaced. All right?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, everyone has a view, but instead of us just talking and talking and talking, look at the empty chairs and hear the words in the closing statement of Mr. Ferreira, who has his right. Policies can be changed, and he mentioned next year, and we know we have an election next year. So all the talkers who only like to talk, and reverberate the Prime Minister whenever he says something just to appease the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister is here to govern. The Prime Minister don't want no friends. We have to start to walk the talk. And the gentleman mentioned Mr. Kwame Ture, and for time, let the director go straight into who is Mr. Kwame Ture. Go ahead, director.
Throughout the history of this twin island republic of Trinidad and Tobago, there have been numerous citizens who have made significant contributions, both locally and on the international stage. Citizens of the 80s, 90s and 21st century will be familiar with names such as Dr. Eric Williams, this country's first Prime Minister, Janelle Penny-Commission, the first black woman to be crowned Miss Universe, Brian Charles Lara, the record holder for the most runs in both Test and first-class cricket, and Hazley Crawford, our first Olympic gold medalist among a plethora of achievers. Not many of this modern generation would have heard of the name Stokely Carmichael, aka Kwame Ture. I can almost hear people asking, Stokely who or Kwame who? Having never heard those names or associating the latter with some African leaders of the 60s and 70s, Stokely Carmichael was born on June 29, 1941 in Port of Spain, Trinidad, and attended Tranquility Government Primary School until 1952, when he migrated to the United States to join his parents, who had migrated when young Stokely was only 2 years old. While in the United States, Carmichael attended the Bronx High School of Science and later Howard University in 1960. It was while he was at Howard University, Carmichael became involved in the civil rights movement that swept across the United States in the late 50s and 60s under the inspired leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Carmichael joined the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee and was an active participant in the freedom rides throughout the South, challenging segregation laws and interstate transportation. There he would have his first taste of prison after he was arrested and jailed for 50 days in Jackson, Mississippi for his participation in the said freedom rides. After graduating with honors from Howard University in 1964, Carmichael was one of the main founders of the Black Panther Party, of which he was named Honorary Prime Minister. It's said that he was the one who coined the phrase Black Power during the heydays of the civil rights movement. He also traveled extensively abroad, denouncing the United States' involvement in the Vietnam War and speaking out against political and economic repression. In 1968, he married the famous South African singer Miriam Makeba and left the United States to take up residence in Guinea. There he changed his name to Kwame Ture, named after two prominent Pan-Africanists, Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré. In 1971, he wrote his memoirs titled Stokely Speaks. He was also banned from entering his homeland, Trinidad and Tobago, in 1970 by then Prime Minister Dr. Eric Williams, who regarded Carmichael as a threat to national security during the height of the Black Power movement in this country. The ban was subsequently lifted by the second Prime Minister George Chambers in 1985, after which he was able to visit and espouse his views with the citizens. His last visit to this country was in 1996 at the invitation of the Emancipation Support Committee. On November 15, 1998, Kwame Ture lost the only battle of his career, only this time it was cancer. Every year subsequently, the Emancipation Support Committee hosts the Kwame Ture Lecture Series in his honor. While the voice of this black activist, Pan-Africanist champion, socialist, revolutionary is now silent, Stokely Carmichael has left an indelible impression on the minds of progressive thinkers worldwide. Avalon Williams, AEM's report.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why Oxford Street supposed to be renamed Kwame Ture or Stokely Carmichael Street. I'm pressed for time as I want to run straight into the subject matter. Director, put up this for me, please, as quick as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing here 15 billion owed in taxes, right? So keep your mind on this. Go ahead to the next clip, Director, as I'm pressed for time. The next clip, yes, play this for me, please.
Movietown continues to offer movie ticket price specials while its tenants at the Cinema and Shopping Complex at Invaders Bay continue to operate as Movietown's owner, the Trinidad and Tobago Commercial Development Company Limited, and the Port of Spain Port Infrastructure Company Limited continue with their legal battle over the premises. On Monday night, Trinidad and Tobago Commercial Development Company Limited, or TCDC, claimed that the Port of Spain Port Infrastructure Company Limited, POSENCO, attempted to bully and intimidate the management of Movietown by attempting to change the locks on the property in violation of a court order. Legal teams representing both parties appeared before Justice Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell in the High Court in Port of Spain on Monday. POSENCO
I am pressed for time,
on Monday,
and I wish to, because I am pressed for time, I want to show something else. Go down there. Yeah, show this. No, yes. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the proposed Pancho and Bago headquarters. This Pancho and Bago headquarters, we were told, show the next clip, Director, which consists of this. We are seeing the Pancho and Bago headquarters, which consists of atrium. We are seeing it on screen. Share the consciousness. The Pancho and Bago headquarters, go back to the headquarters, Director, which the Prime Minister indicated that the price figure on this is 110 million. Go back to the first clip for me, Director. The one with the papers, which was just shown. This, two men, ladies and gentlemen, 93 million plus 34 million is 127 million, worth more than our Pancho-Bago headquarters. Allegedly, this is old. Think, ladies and gentlemen, this is Trinidad. Steve Antoine dreaming. 93 million plus 34 million by two men allegedly owed, and a Pancho-Bago headquarters which worth 110, far less. And the movie tongue allegedly, they're moving on them for this money, you know. It's for some alleged 10 million again. So my God, where we going? Share the consciousness, listen. And besides this, 15 billion, so minus 127, which is 93 from one to the left, share the consciousness, 34 on the one to the right, which amount to 127 million, minus 15 billion is billions. And you know what? The school children can get certain things. Those who supposed to get minimum wage are they getting chirrup. It's so much things taking place in this country unabated by certain people. Some men are more equal rights than others. Look at it here, ladies and gentlemen. I am saying this is alleged. Let me see the proposed Pancho-Bago headquarters. What we are sure we would get, because we don't hear people talking about things could change, and next year, who knows, they could change things. This is why we are speaking constitutional reform. As I said in the past, that when things start, another government, they can't change things willy-nilly in this country. Like when the PNM got in power, they know what I see about this stadium, and that, and the other, and the other. And on the other side, when the other people leave certain things, it is being left there with our tax-paying dollars. My God. Why can't this country be governed so that the poor people, you know, the nuts vendors that is be talking about, the scrap iron dealers, where they sell me scrap iron, the snow cone vendors, the masons, could be on a, you know, that would have monies there to do these things. Monies could shift from one place to another because it would be there. But when people could owe money, put up that thing for me again, Director. I know I handsome. Take me off. Put up this. Yes, this is what I want to see. Share the consciousness. 15 billion in taxes owed by look. And we could hear certain people still moving in because 10 million allegedly is being owed. And they want to give some chirrup, and they say, no way, I have the full, I'll continue this program. I will continue. We need good governance in this country. We need equality in this country. For far too long in this country, things are happening, and people, in other words, how it hang, it swing. Yes. Steve Antoine, I am a very humble individual. I don't like to push up myself, but when I speak on something, when I ain't going there. But my point is, the Pancho-Bago, the proposed Pancho-Bago headquarters, where the old post office have to be broken down. Yes, when I came and I said that, and I said it's the land, because I knew the history of that building. I have videos. Right now, there are vehicles on that premises behind a gate, all post office vehicles. I have the I will present it in the future. All this was done since in July. But other things come and steal the moment, steal the wind from the sail. Like this. While certain people wanted that place. I will speak about that next week. As a man about a countdown, Director, send something for you there. I want for you to show we are on our independence. The last one, I wanted to show it for me, please, Director. This is for our independence. So, ladies and gentlemen, from Conscious Talk, listen to this.
I would like to see the a day when love would come to stay. One love, one love. It would be happiness to see such a unity. One love, hey, hey, hey.
Tune into The Street 919 FM this and every Thursday from 10:25 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. for the program Conscious Talk.
Emancipation cannot be a one-day dress-up in African card event. It has to be a serious process in which resources are provided to our people to ensure they are emancipated. You cannot develop on handouts. That's another form of domination and control. When programs and policies are put in place so that you can develop economically, so that you can become business people, then and only then we can begin to talk about economic development.
Conscious Talk. Conscious Talk. Talk.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of The Street 919 FM.
Renting a car in Tobago should be quick, affordable, and easy.
Wow.
Here at Onia Rentals, we make the process as simple as possible by using our easy e-sign-up. Yep, we can sign you up from just about anywhere using our tablets. See? All done. And everything goes straight into the cloud.
Wow.
Yeah, you're on your way. Are you coming to Tobago? Book your car rental with us and enjoy the most affordable rates in Tobago. But hurry, because cars go pretty fast. Call 361-1042. That's 361-1042.